Okay, gentlemen, using the blocks and the Lego, can you just walk me through the inspection process and highlight any areas of that are conducive to attack?
Okay, we're driving down the street, approaching the property. We're looking at other properties in the street as we're getting close by, checking out anybody's got any piles of wood in the garden, anything that could be conducive to termites or anything around in the actual area. Checking out the style of houses, quick glance at roofs, things like that. Seeing if
orientation, weather,
correct,
taking note of those things.
As we get to the property, we'd pull up in the usual resi search spot, outside the property but not in the driveway, not to cause any obstructions, and obviously only if it's safe to do so. Jump out of the car, get all our equipment, while still having a general look round of the property. Whilst we're wandering in then, if the vendor wasn't actually at the front of the property ready for a greet, we'd just have a quick sort of wander around the actual outskirts of the property, making sure, obviously if there's anything safe, if there's any gates with dogs or anything behind then, or other animals, we wouldn't go into them areas. So just have a quick general wander around the grounds, making sure there is nothing obvious, or getting a bit of a layout of the place to start with.
And then from our initial survey of outside, we'd have already made some mental notes on any areas that we see that might be conducive, or any areas that may be a hot spot, so to speak, for termite activity once we enter the property. So we know to take special note in those areas of the property. So once that's completed, we walk up to the vendor, introduce ourselves very politely, let them know that we're from Resi Pest we're there to carry out the pre-pest inspection on the house before it is sold. Once that's done, enter the premises, set up our computer, put everything down in a central location, and have a quick wander around and making note whilst we're walking to the location where we set up. Again, just to get a vibe for the actual house and what it's made out of, whether it's a brick cavity, whether it could be brick veneer, whether we've noted that there's any timber flooring, anything like that. Just before we start, once again, just gives us a better idea of, once we start, problematic areas that may be in the house.
Mm-hmm. Right, then we're going to go and we're going to actually carry out our internal inspection. We're going to adopt the usual left-hand rule.
The sub box first, of course, the meter box.
Oh yeah, good thinking. We're going to go outside first, checking the electrical meter box, see if there's any history in there, a badge explaining any previous treatments, last inspections, anything like that at all. Then we're going to come back in and adopt the usual Resi Cert left-hand rule. Start at the front door and follow around every room, tapping with your donga and your torch, checking every area with your torch, keeping it on, even if there is lights on in the property or whatever, keep the torch on just so it focuses you on the areas you're checking. Tapping on anything that's timber in the house, checking as you walk along for any squeaky boards, if there's a subfloor or anything like that at all. Also, obviously, if there's any call it laminate flooring anywhere, you're kind of walking across that, just make sure that any springy areas or excess bounce. Tapping on plasterboard or plastered walls as you go, because you're not sure what's behind there. Door frames, and basically just doing your general room to room search, paying particular attention in closets and cupboards. Obviously, you don't leave anywhere unchecked.
Why closets and cupboards?
Because of the sort of darker areas, and people are less likely to notice if there's any activity in there. Quite often closets are in corners of rooms as well, and if you've got a leak or some excess moisture coming in from an external wall or from a leak above, it's going to be undetected for longer.
Excellent. Once you're going through that process, obviously when you come to wet areas such as bathrooms, toilets and kitchens, paying extra note to them, because that is places where there have been breaches. If it is a slab design where there have been a breach in the barrier that may have been put down, gives the termites an ability to gain access. Using your moisture meter, if you do see any problematic areas, whether it be in a bedroom or in a bathroom, taking note of those. If you do get a high reading, obviously going to another area of the house where there isn't or doesn't appear to be any particular moisture damage, and grabbing a reading from there just so you've got something to compare it to, so you're not going off on a tangent with alarm bells ringing when it may be just an area where there is a high moisture in the air or in the actual design. Once you've carried out your internal inspection, obviously photographing any problematic areas or conducive areas, whether that be, for example, there is a crack in the ceiling, or you may have struck gold and found mud trails, just anything that you believe can be problematic or conducive, so you can put that in your report and make a recommendation based on what you have seen. You would then
head to your laptop, your MacBook, enter your details of anything you've found at that point while it's fresh in your mind, just to get everything so you've got a good scope of you know what's been going on, and then move on to your next area, which I believe we are then doing external. So back out the front door, check again, left hand rule, keep to the actual side of the property. Have a little wander. So keeping to the left hand side as you go out the side, checking around all the areas, paying more attention actually to the building. You'd notice other things whilst you're walking around, but you've still got the grounds to do, so you're actually more paying attention to the building. Again, whilst wandering around, you're looking for anything against the side of the property. If in this instance, as you can see, we've got a subfloor, so you're checking out for any ventilation that's going on, anything against the side of the property, checking your window frames, external door frames, checking any downpipes, looking for if they go to soak wells or if it's discharged directly onto the ground at the side of the property, checking for anything that's left up against the side of the building, any vegetation, any wood piles, anything at all, again, just conducive areas. You actually do the entire external area of the property right the way around, and at this point you'd notice there's a garden bed up against the foundations, against the raised subfloor, and it's obstructing what possibly could be some of the ventilation because it goes up above the height of the vents. So again, you'd obviously pay particular attention to that area. If there's any mulch or anything pushed up against the side of the property, obviously paying attention to things like that. Coming round, taking pictures as you go, obviously of your conducive areas or things you've found. Coming around the corner of the property, we'd notice there's a downpipe discharging straight against the side of the building, straight out onto the actual flower bed. So again, that's a serious high risk area. Also next to that, the other side of that, there's then a wood pile. Again, pretty bad area, so this is a real high risk area. You may, on your way round, once you've gone through all the way and checked out everything, making notes of everywhere you've been, you may want to go back into that corner of the building. If you hadn't already had access to this area, if it was fenced off on your first sort of walk round, you may then want to go back in and just do moisture readings and check again in that area, just to satisfy yourself that there is no extra problems. Once you've done the external, back inside again to your MacBook and into your details of your external area.
Can I just ask, it looks like you've got, what is that, a slab, maybe a pavers there on that front?
On the front landing, or what we've gone there for, what we've gone there for there is obviously very well constructed raised concrete slab.
Mm-hmm. Any risk factors associated with that particular area?
Certainly, very conducive area due to the fact that termites can and will travel up through the ground and through concrete, through slabs. Once again, when we are looking at that particular area, we're looking to see if there have been any drill holes put in where treatments have been made in the past or may have been made upon the building.
Usually slabs
of the actual house.
Potentially there's a join here?
Yeah, the cracks where obviously if it's joining on where there's a poured slab and it's raised foundations, there's got to be a gap somewhere because it's not always going to sit tight, and when it settles it will pull away and leave a gap, and obviously termites only need 1 millimetre to get in.
Fantastic.
Underneath there obviously as well, it's also sat on sand. Again, quite often there wouldn't be there's obviously not going to be any ventilation under there because it's compacted sand with concrete sat on top. So you've got no idea what's under there, and like Shayne says, the moisture under there could sit under there for ages.
Okay, so what's next?
Okay, well, we've conducted our look around the grounds. Before we enter the house again, we've noticed, obviously, we've got a raised a raised foundation house, and there's actually a little door to get into the subfloor here. So, if it stands up, what we would then look at doing is opening that door, having a look in, making sure that we can access the subfloor with a relative amount of ease and get underneath and check out problematic areas, which we noted before. We've got a garden bed up against the eastern side of the house with a downpipe going straight into a garden. So obviously there's going to be a lot of moisture built up where that downpipe's not going into a soak well. So head in, obviously going left makes sense, stick with our flow, and just going through and looking for any conducive environments underneath the subfloor. And again, if we're inside and we've noted there was a springy area in a timber floor, we're also going to that area. Or if we've got a moisture reading on a floor, we're going to go to that area and have a look underneath and see if we can find the source, or see if there has been past activity there.
What's wrong with that as well? Obviously, you're looking out for your ant caps or anything on the top of your foundation pillars. You're also looking for cracks in any of the foundation, checking out the mortar. Obviously, while you're under there as well, you're also looking for wherever, like Shayne says, wherever there's an area you suspect of, and you're also your wet areas and any penetrations where you can see any pipes coming through. You're going to pay particular attention to all those areas underneath.
Do we make an assumption that this house is being attacked?
We didn't. But do you want us to make an assumption?
You could, yeah. You could say, well, you know,
well,
I'm looking for activity. I'm making the assumption from the get-go that there is activity at this house, and I will find it.
Well, there's no such thing, as we've learned. There's no such thing as a low-risk house. Every house we're treating has a risk. We're treating every house as if there is a risk, and when we do notice areas of high conducive areas for activity, obviously, yes, definitely, we're going there thinking that there could be definite live activity.
Like Alan says, every house you inspect, you assume there's something there.
Yep, fantastic.
So you're always looking.
What's next?
Okay, next you come out from underneath the subfloor, obviously
Take
dust
your
yourself
overalls
off.
off.
Yeah. And we're entering back into the premises. So going around, obviously still looking around there is still definitely plenty of areas to see, and always looking. There may have been something that you just missed out of the corner of your eye before, so always keeping a very good lookout. We enter the house, we go and grab our ladder and find where we can access the interior roof space.
Again, in the interior roof space, making a judgment on the age of the property, the condition of it. You're going to check as to whether you need to turn the power off before entering, like you did with the subfloor. Also, we're from the actual manhole, you're having a look through, again, making sure it's accessible, making sure it's safe to enter, seeing where you can actually get safe entry into the manhole. Is it safe to pull yourself up into the interior roof space? Checking out the insulation to make sure you've got some exposed beams you can travel across. Looking for your 3 points of contact while you're actually making your way into the manhole safely, because you don't know if any of the roof timbers could have termite damage, could have previously suffered termite damage, so you want to make sure that they can actually take your weight, so you're holding something above your head to brace yourself a little bit while you're taking your first few steps. And then again, stick to your flow, keep to the left hand side once you've gone in the manhole, and make your way around as much of that roof as possible, checking out all the timbers, knocking as you go with either a screwdriver or your donger again to see if you can hear any hollow areas. If it's possible to get right down to the eaves and it's safe to do so, then make your way down there, because the wall plate and the eaves are somewhere that's more likely to be show signs or be attacked because it's on the external area. And again, just make your way around the entire roof space. Once you've done the sort of around the edges, pay attention to your rafters and also your ridge beam, because just because it's not on the outside doesn't mean they've not attacked somewhere down the centre of the roof. Again, make your way out of the internal roof space safely after you've checked everything, and take your ladders outside, put them in a safe place again outside, and then you're ready to do your check of the grounds.
Okay. So what's next?
Okay, so we've conducted our full visual inspection of the property. So now we're going to head to where we sat down our computer and start to enter any details, obviously importing any photos and that we may have, and going through and working through our report and making recommendations based on whether it's a preventative maintenance issue, whether we have found live activity and we do need to recommend to them that they get someone out and terminate the termites, or whether we're just making recommendations on conducive behaviour, on conducive areas where they themselves can just go out and fix that up.
Yeah, you're putting down any areas you can get to. You're making details to say that they were deferred areas because you couldn't actually gain access. So you may not want to gain access to a shed or a garage outside for whatever reason. So obviously you've got to defer these areas so that the people are aware that you didn't actually check those areas internally. Again, like Shayne says, if you didn't find anything that gave you suspicion that there was any activity going on, you still, because of what you've seen, your conducive areas, you're wanting to eliminate those, so you're making recommendations that the vendor gets those, or your client gets those removed, because you want to limit, keep the risk as low as possible. You don't want to actually attract anything, so you still need to recommend that they do remove these areas. Once you've done that and you've got your report finished and you're happy with your report, you'd give a very quick brief to the vendor if they were there and were asking, what was going on. Give them a quick debrief on what you found. Then you would leave the property, go back to your vehicle. As soon as you get back in your vehicle, you'd then phone the client to debrief them on what you found. Again, telling them any issues you found, and again informing them of any conducive areas, explaining what they are, where they were, and explaining your thoughts on and that they should be removed. Just a very quick run through the report, and then phone the agent and pretty much do exactly the same.
And then from there, set up with your report. You obviously want to copy that, put that in Dropbox, so if anything does happen going to the next job, you can get that report and they can still send that report and issue that report.
Fantastic, guys. That's really well done.